view to greater public involvement in matters of national importance. But this one is special for a particular reason. This was one where I will be giving remarks in a minute, and he Good afternoon to everyone. And we promised a 2 p.m. sharp start. And I will say this without more, that if there's one thing that most of us, certainly I, would have learned from Mr. Pattison over time, is that he is on time. And, and today we promise to do no less than to start on time. So even if we're a few seconds late, forgive it. It has nothing to do with Mr. Pattison, why we would be a few seconds late. But we thank you, of course, for having been here. And as we're awaiting I know the principal will be giving remarks in a minute, and he will be here on time for that as well. But today, I want us to, I now officially call the program to order, and I want to give a brief overview of what it is, and in fact, how the program came to being in the first instance. And this was one of those interesting ones where we have been having a number of reasoning sessions in the faculty for a while. And I am Christopher Malcolm, in case I didn't introduce myself initially, I didn't. And you're here in the Faculty of Law at the University of the West Indies. The principal will appropriately give his own welcome to you, to the University of the West Indies. And more particularly in this instance, I speak from the Faculty of Law. But the program today is one in a continuing series of reasonings that we're having with a view to greater public involvement in matters of national importance. But this one is special for a particular reason. This was one where, and I'm sure Mr. Pattison will forgive me for saying how it came about, but he literally called to say, there is a program I want you to organize, and I want us to do it in a context where I will make myself open to public discussion and for the media and other persons to ask whatever questions they may have about what I'm about, about the things I speak about. And he did so in circumstances where, and if you look at the overview that is at the back of your programs, and for those of you who do not have it, there's a Scan Me that was available, and that entire program is actually available. If you were to scan it, it's there. But it sets out the context and a brief overview of what the program is supposed to be. But it is a situation where Mr. Pattison had indicated that there has been ongoing conversation about our Constitution. And as we speak about it, what it is, what it means, and what it does not, one of the things that I suppose struck him, and certainly struck me as well, is the fact that we know very little about how the Constitution came into being. We know very little, most of us, about the context that led to us having what we have, and in fact, what informs some of the particular provisions that are included in our Constitution. And that is one of the things that Mr. Pattison felt he needed to speak to us about. And the program today is specifically organized with that in mind, so we can have a better understanding of the Constitution, so we can get to that critical research question of why. Why is it the way it is? Why is it that we have particular provisions included the way they are? Why is it in the context of when it was established that we have what may appear now to be some elements of it that persons may find interesting, to say the least, but at least we can get a better understanding of that, and also have somebody who was there from the outset speaking particularly about it. I am ad-libbing because I'm awaiting the principal who just came in. But I say that to say, we're not ready for you yet, principal. You can sit a minute. But I say all of that to say that we have a very special program on offer today. I certainly will not steal the thunder of Mr. Pattison for anything at all that will be done. But let me also go on, though, to indicate my own welcome to everyone who is here. We have a number of dignitaries from from the consular corps, from the diplomatic corps. We have Sir Kenneth, I'm looking at to my left, former Governor General. I'm seeing Mr. Bruce Golding, who is a former Prime Minister. I'm seeing members of government, former ministers and so on in the audience as well. Preeminent council and others are here, including from the university community. And we're very happy to have everyone here. And I want you to enjoy the program, to ask as many questions as you want to ask. We will facilitate them. The other thing Mr. Pattison said, in fact, when he called is, I do not wish to be constrained by time. I intend to answer the questions as they are presented. He was very clear, and even this time of day was organized with that in mind, that he did not wish to be constrained by time. So do feel free as you participate, as you listen, as you make your notes with a view to questions, to ask them at the appropriate time, knowing that they will be answered. And hopefully when we all leave here, we will find ourselves in a position where we at least understand a little better some of the things that we may not have known, or get to a better understanding even of those things that we thought we knew. So again, thank you. And at this point, I wish to invite Principal and Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Denzel Williams of the Mona campus, to bring his own welcome to everyone to the Mona campus as we are here in the Faculty of Law at UWI. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Malcolm. You have done such an excellent job. I don't know if I need to welcome anyone anymore. But let me use this opportunity to say a big thank you to the Faculty of Law for hosting this very important reasoning session this evening. It's really my distinct pleasure to say welcome to all. I do not wish to get into the business of a protocol list, Dr. Malcolm, because everybody here is distinguished. So what I would say is just welcome to all nice and decent people to the Faculty of Law. It's indeed, ladies and gentlemen, a wise man once said that if fish comes from the bottom of water and tells you it's deep, actually believe it. No, Mr. Pattison, I'm not calling you a fish. But what I will say is that Mr. Pattison was at Lancaster House in 1962 as part of the process that actually led to what we now have as our constitution in Jamaica. And so there's no one more eminently qualified to talk to us about this very important subject matter as we embark on a new process for a reform of the Constitution as we now have it. So, Mr. Pattison, we really look forward to hearing your comments and your reasoning and insights on this very important process this afternoon. But this is done in the broader context of what we do here at the UWI. At the UWI, we have what really undergirds our operation, what we call the AAA strategy. And that strategy speaks to a very fundamental tenet of our university, which is alignment. And it calls for our university to take the knowledge that is produced within our walls and bring it to the public to bear on solutions for a better society. And through our alignment pillar, today we are here with our reasoning series, which is really geared towards taking the thought process from our university and bringing that to bear on public discourse. So we are a university that is steeped in public advocacy and thought leadership. And today, this is an example and a manifestation of that advocacy that we're doing. So we're very proud of our Faculty of Law that is not actually carrying the banner of thought leadership and advocacy on our behalf as a university. And so today, I really look forward to the reasoning. I look forward to the insights, but more importantly, what we do is to look forward to whatever outputs that are coming from here that can be used as part of the process to improve our Jamaica land we love. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. Thank you for being at our university. And Mr. Patterson, thank you for engaging with our university. I wish you well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Principal Williams. And again, it's now for me to do something which is a difficult task for this reason. The program says I'll introduce Mr. Patterson, but I will tell you that I have been specifically told that he does not wish to have much said. And and in fact, in words which are much stronger than that, his office told me. So I will simply say, as I was told to do, that Mr. Patterson is here to address us, but I will do a little better. Mr. Patterson is, well, he holds many distinctions, including having been conferred with the Order of the Nation. He's a Privy Councillor. He's a preeminent attorney. Was a Privy Councillor. He is a preeminent attorney at law and, in fact, is still a King's Counsel. And he has served Jamaica in multiple capacities, including as our longest serving Prime Minister. And he has touched many aspects of our lives and has done so for a very long time. And what he will do, as he ordinarily does, is to take with him his deliberate approach to doing things, and will very deliberately speak to us today about the constitutional journey that we've had in Jamaica from where it began, what we have currently, that is, the 1962 Constitution, coming out of that passed on the 4th of July, 1962 order in council, and what has happened since. But he will speak to that process. He will give us his own views on it and give us a better understanding of it. And so at this moment, it gives me very great pleasure, as it does, of course, the University of the West Indies, the Faculty of Law in particular, and all of us as a nation, and those broadly beyond who are listening and observing what we're doing, to hear Mr. Patterson present his own words to us and to tell us the context in which the Constitution as we have it was developed, and to look as well at some of the outcomes that we could possibly be looking at as we're contemplating constitutional reform at this time. Mr. Patterson, thank you.
As the oldest alumnus of the University College of the West Indies, I have been given permission to speak from where I sit. Moderator, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Williams, members of the UWI Academia, the Faculty of Law and the Law School, members of the clergy, members of the bar, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, former Governor General Sir Kenneth Hall, former Prime Minister Mr. Bruce Golding, who I especially welcome because he's one of the few persons who entered Parliament in 1972, still alive today. Distinguished guests as you all are, both those present and online. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your presence and your willingness to participate as we gather for a reasoning on the Jamaican Constitution. It is my honor, and I felt it was my duty, to share with you such perspectives as time will allow on the background, the origin, the operation, and the future as we seek to indigenize our constitution, abolish the monarchy, and achieve full sovereignty at last. I begin with the 30th of May, 1960. I was walking on the main street in Morant Bay. We were preparing for a federal by-election because Robert Lightburn had resigned from the federal House to successfully contest the seat in the 1959 election. And Edwin Allen, who had lost in northwestern Clarendon, was supposed to be the candidate for the seat. As I was walking towards the campaign office for which I was responsible, I saw the unmistakable figure of Sir Alexander Bustamante walking towards me with a crowd of about 30 persons or so. I thought it prudent to try and duck behind the wall. But he had spotted me. And when he came to where I was, he said, "Come here, Sonny. I thought you had followed my advice. I told you long ago to be off to London to study the law, to see if you could be even half as good in the law as my cousin Norman. Instead of following my advice, he has you running up and down the country like mad ants." And then he said, you will soon see it will all come to naught." I didn't understand what he meant. But that night, on his return to Kingston, he announced that the Labour Party, which he led, would be mounting a campaign to leave the Federation. That resulted in a meeting of the cabinet the following day and Norman Manley's decision to announce his intention to hold a referendum. When that referendum was held by a majority of 40,000 persons, the people decided that Jamaica should go on its own. Following that, a resolution of the House, moved by the Premier, established what was a joint committee to prepare proposals for an independent Jamaica. Please remember that by then, Jamaica had attained what was called full self-government in the Constitution of 1959. And even for some matters that were reserved, like external policy, Norman Manley had found a way of getting around it. So, for instance, we had imposed a ban on goods from South Africa, and we had also required visas for persons entering from South Africa. After deliberations, the Joint Committee took a decision that Jamaica would be a constitutional monarchy with a bicameral legislature. And that decision determined the contours and the framework of the draft Constitution, and delegations proceeded from two sides to London to conclude the new Jamaican Constitution. I was privileged to have an insider's view of everything that was taking place. In fact, I was required on my way to LSE to stop at the hotel to find what would be going on for the day, and to stop on my way home when they had returned from Lancaster House to learn what had transpired. And when there were receptions and Bustamante and his delegation were present, Buster would say to me, "My cousin gave me hell today." Or when things went his way, he would say, "My cousin was as brilliant as no one else could be today." The Jamaican Constitution was the first of its kind. And among other things, it created the position of the leader of the opposition and vested that holder with certain specific duties and functions. I think you have to understand the context in which those negotiations were taking place. Norman Manley was the premier. Bustamante had just won the referendum. There was no compulsory requirement for an election to be held, although Bustamante was demanding it. And therefore, both were negotiating a constitution when neither knew who was going to be the prime minister and who would be losing and therefore ending up as leader of the opposition. And that is fundamental to any understanding of how the Constitution was designed. So they created a Senate, 13-8, regardless of what was the majority in the House of Representatives, and entrenched certain provisions which could only be changed if you got at least one vote from the opposition side in the Senate. The leader of the opposition was also vested with the right to be consulted on certain critical appointments. And I'm going to have to say a word more about what consultations mean and what it doesn't mean. Bustamante was heard to say very soon, "I have to consult, but I don't have to get agreement." And we have to look at what that has resulted in the course of time. There were some issues that had to be resolved in London and, of course, sanctioned by the Colonial Office. But I think it's true to say that the broad provisions in the Constitution were determined by the two parties representative at the talks. Bustamante had a way of saying things in very short, simple, but profound terms. And he announced from the start, I am with the Queen and for the Queen, full stop. He then left it to his delegation. And of course, Manley, the legal scholar, who was steeped in the doctrine of the greatest authority on the unwritten English Constitution, Professor Dicey, was the one who crafted the provisions of the Constitution that not only entrenched the monarchy deeply, but I should point out that if a referendum is held where there is not a two-thirds majority from the Senate, it can't be changed by a simple majority in the referendum. It has to be done by two-thirds majority in the referendum. And please bear in mind that no political party in its heyday, no matter the sweep, has ever won two-thirds of the vote of the electorate. There was, in accordance with the British practice, a separation of powers. But the difference between the monarchical system and the republican system is that each part is headed by the monarch. So it is the monarch's legislature, the members of the cabinet are Her Majesty's ministers, and the judiciary are Her Majesty's judges. And that is why cases, criminal cases, are brought either Regina versus Adijah Palmer or Rex, as it now is, against Storm Campbell. There were some issues like the prerogative of mercy, which resides in the monarch. In Britain, it is exercised by ministerial advice. After a very long debate, they decided that it would be done by a privy council appointed by the Governor General after consultation with the Prime Minister. I must tell you that as Prime Minister, I was very happy about that decision for one simple reason. I didn't want to have to deal with persons who were applying for clemency. Leave it to other persons' hands. One of the big ticket items had to do with the Director of Public Prosecutions. Up to then, it formed part of the Attorney General's department. There were some who wanted to create the office accountable to the Attorney General. There were those who were determined that the DPP should stand alone and be accountable to no one. That point won the day. When you see the age limit that was fixed, believe you me, it had nothing to do with the Pensions Act, because several people who were DPPs went from there to the Court of Appeal. Swaby, Carr, Ian Fort. It came from a very simple view. The aphorism of Lord Acton, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And since the DPP was accountable to no one, the tenure was determined by an age limit. And if an extension were to be granted, although the appointment is by the Public Service Commission, as is the Auditor General, in that case, it has to be done by the Prime Minister in consultation with the Leader of the Opposition. And I am not making any statement ad personam. I am saying very clearly that the change of that position, which is before the courts and on which I will not comment, runs contrary to the original intent of the position. Another big issue, and we have dealt with that long ago, was when should be Independence Day. Some wanted it on Emancipation Day. Dr. Ivan Lloyd came up with the proposal, first Monday of every August. And you know the processes by which that has been changed. And there was also the question of the valuation and the method of the acquisition of private property, which was subject to judicial review. No entrenched section or deeply entrenched provision can be altered without bipartisan support in our legislature. And fundamental changes cannot be imposed by a simple parliamentary majority. Therefore, real constitutional changes must entail political consensus. Recently, when AJ presented his book, there was a thorough exposition of why we should remove from the Privy Council to the CCJ. But in the context of this presentation, I am forced to indicate why it is essential that we do so to complete our full sovereignty. As a student of the law, I was furious when I went to the Howard Hotel that evening, and I was told that the Privy Council was going to be the final court of appeal. Norman Manley was not known for his patience. He had other virtues. But when I started my protests, he listened to me without interruption. I asked, how could the National Party subscribe to the retention of an apex court that was created to maintain the cause of empire and maintain its dominion through the Privy Council, as the final determinant of our legal rights. I asked him, how could you ignore the existence of a brilliant court led by Chief Justice Hallinan, with eminent jurists such as Alan Lewis, Loku, Rennie, which was universally accepted as one that accorded with the highest standards for superior courts based on the common law. And when I was finished, he proceeded to do a demolition job. He said, the Federation is going to be dismantled. The federal court will disappear. We will have, after the independence, to meet with our colleagues and determine how we replace the federal court. And for that reason, and for that reason only, we are putting in the Privy Council as one for simple amendment. We can take it out and put in what replaces it when we have so decided. Argument done. Believe you me, don't sell Bustamante short. If he had wanted the Privy Council to remain the final court of appeal, he would have insisted on its entrenchment. I am equally indignant at a claim that the call for the creation of a Caribbean court as the final appellate body was spawned by either of our political parties and was therefore, at its inception, a partisan issue. It came from Akbar at a meeting on this campus. I can't forget it was a Saturday for reasons which I'll share with you. I made the mistake of leaving my chambers at 11 o'clock without getting my weekly allowance. My secretary gave it to my partner, Tony Spaulding, who, armed with my money, went down to Victoria Pier, as we usually did. And he announced, PJ sends his regrets, but says drinks are on him today. When I went home, I saw Tony Spaulding in my living room, as drunk as a lord, without a cent of my weekly allowance. That meeting of Akbar gave 5 compelling reasons why we must have a court of our own. And to this day, I have not heard any argument advanced by anyone that in any way erodes the legitimacy of those contentions. Now, funnily enough, the first action taken by the government was led by the Right Most Honorable Hugh Shearer, because he took the Akbar recommendation to a meeting of heads in 1970, and they agreed then and there on the federal court. There was a long hiatus, and indeed in the 70s, we were concentrating more on Carifta moving it to a common market, moving it to a community. It is when we began now to move towards a single market that it became obvious we would have to visit with urgency the question of a tribunal. The meeting in Antigua of heads met in caucus. The prime minister then was the Most Honorable Edward Seaga. And I quote, "Caucus decided to avoid the option of a transitional involvement of Caribbean jurists in the Privy Council and take instead immediate steps towards the expeditious establishment of a Caribbean court as the final appellate body for English-speaking countries." End of quote. Ozzie Harding, King's Counsel, was a member of the Regional Attorneys General entrusted with the draft framework. Not one single ground has been advanced why this vestigial colonial institution should remain. What changed? The government. And the then leader of the opposition thought he was going to lure me with the fantasy of an indicative referendum. I was never going to succumb to that temptation. The differences between the two parties were reflected in our election manifestos of 2002. Now, the matter went to the Privy Council eventually, and let me say this. I accept the decision of the Privy Council because it is final, not because it is right. Why do I say this? What we lawyers call the ratio decidendi, meaning the reasons for the decision, are fundamentally flawed and indeed reflect a level of contempt which I find repugnant. Because on an examination, the Privy Council was satisfied of the quality of the composition of the court, its protection by a treaty, but it invoked what I call the doctrine of anticipated malevolence. What do I mean? What do they mean by that? Lest one prime minister would go rogue. And they said, one prime minister can interfere with the Caribbean court, but everybody knows nobody can interfere with us. Within 1 year of their saying so, Tony Blair changed the entire structure of the English judicial system and abolished the House of Lords as the final appellate court and instead constituted the English Supreme Court. I have to say that because I'm often misquoted by saying the law is not a shackle. I never said so. And I am sure the jurisprudence that is taught here allows people to understand that there are different approaches to the law, in my view, and I'm persistent in that, it has to be a tool of social engineering. Apart from my pleasure, which is customary, in seeing Mr. Bruce Golding here, he can attest to what I am about to say. The CCJ is our court. We fashioned it ourselves. We have paid our share for it. And having regard to the debate in Parliament, we made it an itinerant court so it can sit in Jamaica. It has now passed the 10-year test. One of our most brilliant jurists, Dr. Lloyd Barnett, wrote an assessment of the quality of the judgments issued, which I started to discuss with Mr. Siaga in an attempt to persuade him. But unfortunately, he fell ill before that discussion could be completed. During Mr. Golding's tenure, he commissioned, quite understandably, a study on whether we should have a final court, which is a Jamaican court, as distinct from the CCJ. And the answers are clear. We simply can't afford it. We're paying for one already. And we will be competing with the CCJ from the same pool of talent. Justice has a cost. And if we can find the money, we should use it to improve and perfect our justice system. That is why we all applaud the new remuneration package for the judiciary. I go further. We must retain the highest levels of competence. We can't afford judges of the Court of Appeal who are just getting in their ring aki where the law is concerned, to be retiring at 70. We should be considering adjusting the age upwards to at least 72, possibly 75. Some cases have come to attention recently. There is a case of Lessine Edwards, where he was acquitted by the Privy Council. But you know why he was acquitted? The Privy Council made resources available for them to do a scientific study which was not available in the court here. And one thing we have to understand, poor people are denied the equality of justice because justice is costly. If Vibes Cartel didn't have the money, his case wouldn't have gone to the Privy Council. But his case should not have gone to the Privy Council if we had in place a system that records judgments of our own Court of Appeal. Because if it had, somebody could have looked on those judgments and found that our Court of Appeal here, Zaka and Roe, with Rocky White dissenting, had decided that once there is any sign of contamination, you must dismiss the entire jury. I am not oblivious to the fact that right now there's a tide because of the judgment or the way the Adaija Palmer appeal was handled. But please note that the same way the Privy Council streams its hearings live, so does the Caribbean Court of Justice. So 62 years after our independence, it is more than overdue for Jamaica to depend no longer on an order in council to abolish the monarchy and to vest the judicial arm with the full authority to dispense justice for all as we seek to develop a Caribbean jurisprudence. I repeat, our founding fathers envisaged the establishment of a Caribbean court at the apex. It should remain as a settled national position and not be subverted because of political expediency to be a partisan divide. I move now to the matters pertaining to the reform of other aspects of our Constitution. During the 1978 conversations, the PNP was insistent on an executive president chosen by the electorate. The JLP favored a ceremonial head of state appointed by parliamentary procedures. The Carr Commission, by a majority decision after extensive debate, recommended, and I quote, that the formal head of state should not be an active politician and head of government, end of quote. It proposed that the head of state should be appointed on the nomination of the Prime Minister in consultation with the leader of the opposition, subject to confirmation by a 2/3 majority of the members of both houses of parliament sitting in joint session. This, it felt, would invest the selection with an aura of democratic approval, and the Republican form would replace the monarchical in a manner indicative of our national identity and consciousness of our self-esteem as a nation. I sought during my tenure to move forward to completing the structures of our independence. It was my view that the process towards our self-definition as a people had to be accelerated. The institution of our own indigenous president as head of state in the Republic of Jamaica must now be placed on the front burner of the public agenda. In order to obtain a consensus on these new constitutional arrangements, I sought and obtained at our annual party conference in 2001 permission to accept a ceremonial head. And let me say this: our constitutions are based on a figment that political parties do not exist. They do, and they matter. And to operate the constitutions properly, we have to take in account the reality of their existence. We were about to see eye to eye, Mr. Siaga and I then, when my good friend Bruce returned to the fold. And Mr. Siaga said to me at the Vale Royal meeting, Bruce has brought some ideas again about the separation of powers. We have to get some time to sort it out. I did know, Bruce, that already there were some other sleepers in the JLP who were also of that view. The net result of it is that we didn't move forward. And with Mr. Siaga's departure, the only meeting that I had at Vale Royal with the new leader of the opposition, Mr. Bruce Golding, he told me then he had just assumed the leadership. He had set up a committee under Mr. Senator Dwight Nelson, and they needed some time. I say this frankly, I have always worked assiduously to obtain a national consensus. I think it is critical to the future of Jamaica that we do as much as we possibly can together in a united way than as differing political tribes. What I did before departure is to change the oath being taken by prime ministers, because it was very hard and uncomfortable to swear allegiance to a foreign monarch. And when we had the swearing in on the 23rd of October, I moved it to Emancipation Park rather than King's House deliberately, because I was able to swear to be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, to uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of Jamaica, to conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica. The issue of citizenship has always been a burning question. The British Commonwealth, as it was in 1962, no longer exists. We are now in the Commonwealth of Nations. Once the monarch goes, so must disappear any concept of a shared common allegiance. We changed in 1993 the constitutional rights to citizenship by descent by making sure that women were placed as mothers on equal footing with men as their fathers. And so some people are not only of Jamaican descent by birth, but also entitled to Jamaican citizenship by their descent of their motherhood. In my view, and this is in the report, which I support, no valid reason exists for maintaining the provisions pertaining to a Commonwealth citizen other than a citizen of Jamaica who is resident for at least 12 months to be eligible for parliamentary office. The qualifications must be based, in my view, on Jamaican citizenship. I don't want to cause any confusion. Citizens of the Commonwealth are at the present time legally entitled to sit in the House or the Senate. I am deliberately confining my remarks to the constitutionality of any such position. Political considerations are well above my grade in the pavilion. It is my considered view that Section 40 should not be confined to parliamentarians, but extended. In my time, there were 2 appointments I had to make. The people disclosed to me that they held citizenship of another country. I told them, not putting any pressure on you, you have a choice. Renounce and stay where you are. Or if you want to accept this position because of its sensitivity, you have to renounce. Both without hesitation proceeded to renounce and were duly appointed to their positions. There are some positions that I think have to make it clear that allegiance is to Jamaica alone. For example, the Chief of Staff. Otherwise, you're exposing the person to charges of treason. The Permanent Secretary and members of the Defense Board. I raise, without making any proposal, we have to look at questions of persons like the Chief Justice, like the President of the Court of Appeal, like our electoral commissioners and the Director of Elections. All of these require further national scrutiny and discussion and would apply to further appointments as existing conditions of judges cannot be altered to their disadvantage while serving on the bench. I am not moving into the political arena, but I think I have to ground what I have to say by setting out the base on which our democracy rests. The existence and spread of the 2 major political parties since the grant of universal adult suffrage have ensured smooth transition in accordance with successive election results. And we deserve to applaud ourselves for that. It is commendable, but we cannot ignore how tender and delicate is the plant of the Westminster model, where a first-past-the-post system may still allow a majority of seats, but a minority of popular votes. Lopsided parliamentary majorities often conceal the real margin of the popular will, and the more so when we witness a worrying decline in the number of persons who actually exercise the precious franchise. So, there can be a government in office which in fact does not command the support of a majority within the nation. I believe we should seek in the design of our new constitution to foster a participatory democracy. I would dare to suggest that we can begin with a step that entrenches local government, that gives it a more functional role and greater community involvement in several aspects of rural and urban development as they affect our daily lives. Eradicating political tribalism must be our goal. We have seen what can be achieved whenever we reach a national consensus and in our own way fashion and create an institutional machinery to effect it. The Electoral Commission is fitting testimony that we can. It rescued this country from civil war in 1980 and reached a point where with a 32 to 31 majority, we could see the swearing in of a new prime minister without a single shot being fired anywhere. Here I'm going to make a fundamental point. I believe that we have to change the portions of our Constitution which speak about Prime Minister after consultation to Prime Minister with the concurrence. And I speak as one who had to apply the present system for 14 years. And I will say very frankly, admittedly, there are some times when I insisted on having my own way. But in the majority of cases, by a process of communication and interchange, the leader of the opposition and myself were able to reach consensus on critical appointments. And this is where what is called the Vale Royal talks come in. We cannot overemphasize its importance or its potential. And I will share with you, when it comes to things like the Judicial Services Commission, or the Police Services Commission, or the Public Service Commission, if it became necessary, Mr. Seaga and myself would meet in my room at Gordon House, and we would exchange names, and we would finally agree on a list of persons best suited to fulfill the particular functions. This is a lead-in to one of the provisions in this report of the CRC, which quite frankly fills me with great alarm. It is the proposal of a two-tiered system of the election of a president. It is absolutely unacceptable, must be vehemently resisted, and would totally destroy the purpose and intent and legitimacy of a head of state. Because what it is saying is, nominated by the Prime Minister and after consultation with the leader of the opposition, and if you can't get 2/3, it speaks about taking into account political realities in our democratic system of government. It also provides a solution through the application of the majority rule to a problem where gridlock exists. You cannot afford gridlock in this. There are several things that can be done. You can, in Barbados, it is done by the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition. If you put that position in, you will not only get 2/3, you will get unanimity. If you don't put that in, and the first nomination fails to get the 2/3, you must treat it like a papal consistory. That is to say, lock them up and don't let them out until you have got a nomination. Then you can let the smoke out of the chimney. We have elected a new head of state. I also have a concern about the proposals for the extension of membership in the Senate. And let me say it very clearly, I am not opposed to a careful consideration as to whether you should get representatives in the Senate other than those which come from the political parties. I am saying that the categories would have to be specifically defined. They would have to provide for the people within that category to do that selection and not vest it in the head of state, because if you vest it in the head of state, you are having then an interference by the head of state in the legislative process, and that you cannot afford. And I'm saying, if you're going that route, consider very carefully whether the representatives of the diaspora should not have some role or some voice. In speaking of I am not proposing it as a settled matter. I am saying if you are going for putting in the church, the private sector, the unions, the NGOs, there's a very important group called the diaspora. So you would have to look at whether or not you are going to include them. And if so, how? Because the oath of allegiance, which those citizens are required to take, make it inconsistent for them to be serving simultaneously in the Jamaican Parliament. And please also note that there are several Jamaicans who have lived, particularly in the United States, for years, had children and grandchildren who to this day operate on green cards because they refuse to take an oath of allegiance which will in any way seem to renounce their Jamaican citizenry. So this matter really needs very careful further consideration. I also am very concerned about the proposal to extend the life of Parliament for new conditions. And the proposal is that could be extended for up to 2 years. I am not for that. If you can have a general election in the middle of a global pandemic, I don't see any reason why there should be an exemption that could permit the life of the legislature and a denial of the people of the right to choose for 2 years in those circumstances. I would also have hoped that having abandoned the proposals in the Carr report to include impeachment proceedings against parliamentarians, the CRC would have proposed the entrenchment of the Integrity Commission. Let me pose the question, where do we go from here? I note in a letter today that it is being suggested that the report should be laid on the table of the House, that there should be room for public ventilation. I would strongly suggest, as we did for the Carr report, that the report should first of all be debated in Parliament, in both houses, that it should be referred to a joint select committee to permit submissions. And then I think there has to be what I call meaningful Vale Royal talks. What I call a come to Jamaica moment. I believe the reformed constitution must seek to capture popular will, symbolize national values, and inspire us as a land of beauty to become a great people where our destiny beckons. Let us realize that our nation needs peace, needs harmony, and needs justice for one Jamaica, land we love.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson, for your presentation. At this time, we're going to be opening the floor for the media and for the persons for questions. And there are some roving microphones that are being passed around or that are available to be passed around. And I take a quick hand. I see Justice Patrick Brooks, being the president of the Court of Appeal, being the first hand that I saw going off. And so we'll pass the mic to Justice Brooks for his question or comment.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. That was an exceptionally enlightening presentation, and I congratulate you on it. My question goes back to the beginning. Several stories circulate about the reason for the Chief Justice of Jamaica not being as the head of judiciary, but not sitting in the Court of Appeal. Could you enlighten us as to why that exists?
But I'll share with you. At the time Chief Justice McGregor was in place, the then Attorney General was J. Leslie Condell. Not only was he Attorney General, but he was present in London, unlike Chief Justice McGregor. It was an open secret that he had his eyes on the Court of Appeal. Please remember, at that time, the Attorney General was appointed through the Colonial Office. And the Constitution was crafted with that in mind. It was accepted that the Chief Justice would be the head of the judiciary. They used the model of the Court of Appeal in England at the time, where the Master of the Rolls, as he was then called, presided, and fashioned the Court of Appeal along those lines, and indicated that there would be a president of the Court of Appeal, and that the Chief Justice would only be allowed to sit in the Court of Appeal when invited by the president and the court was sitting en banc. I don't know if that satisfies your lordship.
Well, perhaps I'd wanted to raise the same question that Justice Brooks raised, but perhaps you could go a little further. There was an issue between Condell, who was then the Attorney General, the desire on the part of our founding fathers to have their own Attorney General. And there was a trade-off where Condell, I think, ended up as Solicitor General and a new Attorney General was appointed. So I'd like you to ask you to comment on that. And one other thing, can you give us, from your recollection,
I don't remember that arising as an issue, for the reason that it was understood from the start that when the new constitution came into place, the Attorney General would be a political appointee. And of course, the persons remained in place until the date when the provisions of the Constitution came into effect. So there was no hiatus, as far as I can recall, between the time Condell ceased to be Attorney General and the time he moved to the Court of Appeal as president, and the time when Victor Grant was appointed the first Attorney General by the Prime Minister of Jamaica. That's my recollection.
Can you comment on, and Trevor Monroe covers it in his doctoral thesis, what was the role of Leslie Ashneim
Yes.
in the formulation,
Yes.
particularly of property rights?
Yes, very much so. The Joint Select Committee locally included his brother, Sir Neville Ashneim. Sir Neville Ashneim was not a member of the delegation that went to London, but there was constant communication between that delegation and the members of the Joint Select Committee who were not in London. The issue about property rights arose in this way. The government of the day wanted to have the right to acquire property
in 2024, we are
for
by
public
30%.
purposes on
Right?
fair and
So far
equitable
in the
terms.
last 2 years.
The Leslie Ashneim had made very strong representations to the committee that was sitting locally that would be repugnant to prospective investors in Jamaica who would feel that their property could be seized. Let me say, perhaps very plainly, Noel Nethersole was no longer the Minister of Finance. Vernon Arnett had succeeded him. And those who were comfortable with Noel Nethersole and Arnett
Greetings, everybody. Greetings. How you all doing? I trust that y'all are doing great. Trust that y'all are doing well. Well, the journey continues, and we are getting ready because as soon as we conclude in another few minutes, we're going to break away from former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson, who spoke eloquently at the University of the West Indies and gave his perspective on the Constitution and his views as one of the persons who would have dealt with constitutional issues back in the 1990s. So I hope you guys would have enjoyed that presentation, and I'm hoping that we will continue to listen to former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson. But we're going to be joined in a few minutes by we are going to be joined by former dual citizen. We're going to be joined by a former dual citizen and present member of parliament and minister of government, Darrell Vaz, who's going to be here in a few minutes. So stick and stay. He's going to join us in a few. We're going to pick his brain a little bit as to what transpired when he was in the hot seat of dual citizen and what can we expect going forward as it relates to the current debate on dual citizens. We're hoping he might just give us some surprise. You never know. Feel free, guys. I'm going to share the link for you guys to jump into the box and you can ask a couple of questions of Mr. Vaz when he gets here as to his views on this whole dual citizen. Who is better to talk to us on dual citizenship than Darrell Vaz? He was one of the ministers and one of the members of parliament at the time who would have had to renounce his citizenship. So we want to know today, what's his views and what are we looking forward to? How is this thing going to be resolved? The current leader of the opposition is indeed, in fact, a dual citizen with Britain. And of such, most people, including former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson, who thinks that he's conflicted by way of his position, and as such, seem to be suggesting that anyone with dual citizenship should not be eligible to sit in our parliament. And I know you guys have been listening to former PM for a little bit now, and you would have gotten the same thing that I picked up from him, that he is not in favor of dual citizens sitting in our parliament. So we want to hear from Minister Vaz, who I said is going to join us in a few minutes, so we can get a viewpoint from him. Greetings to you, Angie. How you doing? Truth Speaker, Christine Reed. Big up yourself. Good to see you all. Share the program. Tell a friend, tweet a friend, tell a friend that we are live. We are live, and Minister Vaz is going to join us in a few minutes. Joan, how you doing? Herbert Hines, what's going on with you? Great Mistake, what's going on? Desmond Donaldson, what's going on with you? Patricia, how are you? So I greet you all well. I'm happy that you all take the time out to join us this evening. We are always here every Sunday, live at 7:30, when we will speak on topical issues. And today's topical issues continues to be our Constitution and the fact that some members are conflicted. Delroy Walker, greetings to you. Welcome. Share the program. Tell a friend. Tweet your friends. Tell them that we are on. We are live. And there's a robust discussion actually taking place on TikTok as well, where there's a bloggers, quote unquote, bloggers conference when we're discussing issues and we're talking about matters of national security, the history of the political parties, the roles and functions of government. Some good things happening over there on TikTok at Politics and Sports, that channel on TikTok. And a lot of speakers are there and they're having a grand time. They're laying out some facts on the table. I just heard Chuck Finley. He was live just now and he gave a very good presentation as it relates to the status of Jamaica's national security and the amount of money that has been spent and what's going on. And before him, we had Classic, who talked about some of the benefits and some of the organizations that you can join, some of the organizations that you can form in order to have better access to government and governance. So lots of good things happening. Lots of good things happening in the social media space. Contrary to popular belief that social media only spread bad news and only spread misinformation, absolutely not. Social media people are responsible enough to decipher what is false and what's not. So it's our duty as practitioners in this space to ensure that what we disseminate is always factual. Kenroy Thomas, big up yourself. Selvin Thompson, big up yourself. Travis, good to see you as well. I greet you all well. Please share the program. Share the program. Thank you very much. Oh, you laugh. So, Angie, Greetings to you. Greetings to you. Share the program, folks. Tell everybody. Everybody just hit that share button real quick. And if you have not yet followed us on TikTok, please do so. We are at Chaps Media on TikTok, and we are on our YouTube channel. And thank you guys for getting us to 1,000. We are a little bit over 1,000 right now. And I must say a big thank you, Fitzgerald Brooks. Big up yourself, Travis, and everybody. Carlene, what's going on with you? But thank you to everybody who chipped in and got us to 1,000. So Chops Media is now at 1,000. We are 1,000 and a little bit, and we are keeping it going. So if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. Please do so as quick as you possibly can, so we can get those numbers rolling. Yes, Minister Vaz will be on with us in a few minutes. He promises to join us in a few. And we will talk about, he had a great presentation today in East Rural St. Andrew, the constituency of our First Lady and the Deputy Speaker of the House, Juliet Holness. Daryl had a classic presentation there today, and we want to share that presentation with you a little bit, and then we will seek and we will hear from him as to his thought and what he mentioned today. Let's see if we can take this audio. It's not very clear audio, guys, but for whatever it's worth, let's see if we can listen to it. And as usual, when Daryl hits the stage, there are some songs that are unique to him. One of them is "You Can't Keep a Good Man Down," and I think everybody in Jamaica knows that. When it comes to the traits and hallmark of a good man, Daryl is one. So let's see if we can hear this. Just indicate, guys, if you can hear it. It's not the best audio, but I think we have a duty to play this one. We have to hear from the minister himself. So let me know if you can hear it, the audio. Not hearing anything. Wow. All right. I don't know if you guys are hearing it, but let me try and see if I can.
I took a flight back to Jamaica this morning just to be here because I know how important Israel is to me and I know how important it is to the Labour Party. Many of you know that I used to live in Irish Town. Many of you know that I know the place inside out. From all and West Rural. In East Rural, we have Maryland, Woodford, Irish Town. We have Linders Gap, Dallas Castle, Clear River. We have, as I said before, Mavis Bank. In West Rural, we have Border, Parks Road, Cavaliers. Of course, those go through Stony Hill and Border and Temple Hall. And I know the problems that you've been facing. I know the problems for you to get from halfway tree to Papine. And when you get to Papine, you think that you're done, but it doesn't start. So I want to indicate that on top of the 100 buses that land here next month from back to school, the 100 JUTC buses that I have already refurbished. And when I say refurbish, it means rebuild, do over. 8 big route buses. That is a golden travel as a more China bus. 8 of them will be rolling out by July. And 16 more are under repair now. So we're going to put 24 buses. Not the more knockdown buses that you see. These are almost new buses that have 2 years warranty and can last for 10 years. So you're going to get not only a new bus from Papine, from halfway tree to Papine, but when you reach Papine, you're going to be able to go to all of your destinations in reasonable time. And the same goes for West Rural, for example. All this other 1.5, 2 or 3 because the bus that are broke down. You're going to see a difference on September morning. Not only for you, but for your children. Jamaica, them the second thing I want to touch on, just to make it very clear, I have to take a certain action this week in the interest of the safety and the security of every Jamaican citizen. To simplify it, you can't have people doing it business in Jamaica that the government of Jamaica has no involvement in. The good thing is that I was strong enough to take the decision, and my government backed me to do it. And they have all come to the table because they know I don't put my vote abroad and down. So in the coming days and weeks, we'll be working out what we need to work out so that when you press up on your app and you press it and I'll be to pick you up, I must know in the transport authority and the police must know that these people are people that have been vetted and are due diligence, fit and proper to carry our Jamaican citizens. So don't let everyone out and cause a problem. I am doing what I need to do to protect each and every one of us. We don't want another situation like what has happened, and several that have happened unreported over the last few years. So again, just easy.
Just
Just
easy.
take it easy.
Just take it easy.
Everybody, don't listen to the misinformation and propaganda. I am going to fix it.
Just
And
take
fix
it
so that
easy.
each and every one of
The
you
boss are gonna fix it.
to use technology in order to do your business in transportation. Last but not least, because
subscribe.
this situation with, again, misinformation and propaganda spreading all through the transport sector about an island-wide strike tomorrow. I have been assured by the responsible transport operators that they are aware that we are having meetings, that they are aware that there's a meeting planned for Tuesday, and we will sort out in the review of the Road Traffic Act any issue in relation to any concern that any motorist or public transportation operator has. Again, just easy. Just believe in me.
Just go easy.
I'm not going to let you know. And I'll sell you out. I'll sell you out. So I wanted to make those 3 points because it has a very big impact on each and every one of you from East Rural to you and to all of Jamaica tonight. Anybody that has the ambition to become the Prime Minister of Jamaica, you have to be willing to put Jamaica first. Not only first, second, and third. No foreign country or foreign government should be advising you or telling you what you can do and what you cannot do. Where you can go or where you cannot go if you want to be the head of Jamaica. You see who comes up?
Prime Minister has arrived.
Let us talk about Jamaica. Let's welcome the boss himself, our Prime Minister, our party leader, in whom we are pride. Here comes the one, everyone, everywhere, please stand as we welcome officially. It's good to see you, party leader. It is always good to see our party leader, the best party leader. Going for the third term. We are sure. Let's welcome party leader. Official welcome. Everyone, everywhere. Please stand.
welcome party leader, Minister Darrell Vass, MP Darrell Vass. Please continue. I will tell you where you were. You were addressing 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Thank you very much. Welcome to Prime Minister and Party Leader Andrew Holness. I was trying my best to get on the platform and finish before he came, but so may it be. So as I was saying, no foreign country or foreign government should be giving any advice to our Prime Minister, telling you what you can do or what you cannot do. And I'm going to draw a very simple example of what I'm saying. We all know that the Prime Minister has been playing a very critical role on behalf of America. We all know what our sisters and brothers are going through in Haiti. And I ask yourself, and I ask you to put yourself in the same position if it wasn't Andrew Holness, but it was the British man. And there was an advisory for British citizens and nationals not to go to Haiti. How would he play the role that our Prime Minister is playing today to help our brothers and sisters? You cannot have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I want to tell you that what upsets me most about this whole matter is the misleading, the withholding of information, and the deceitfulness. Here is a man that had to be pried in order for him 4 weeks after it became public to admit that he was of dual allegiance. I don't call it dual citizenship, you know. Dual allegiance means you pledge loyalty to more than one country. And I am saying to you and to all of Jamaica that the position is untenable. He said that he wanted to hear from the Jamaican people as to whether or not he should do the right thing. Well, we all saw the poll this morning, where 64% of those polled. And by the way, those polled are persons that are enumerated. It's not just random, because I made sure to check that out when I saw the poll this morning, because I'm a political scientist. So if it was random people, I wouldn't take it as serious as I take it now. And all I say to you is, Tom drum, but Tom the fool. One thing for sure, and I remind you that in 2008, when the court ruled that by reviewing my US passport, I had pledged allegiance. The court case never finished 15 minutes, and I left from the Supreme Court straight to the embassy and turned in my US citizenship. Matthew Samuda, and I give him big respect. He never waited on a court to rule, because that is something that is still out there. Once he heard the argument, he knew where he wanted to serve and where his loyalty lied. And he did what he needed to do. We need to give him a big round of applause. Not to mention all those who have already done that. And let me make the distinction that the issue of dual allegiance by the leader of the opposition and the Prime Minister is a complete different argument to whether you are in the Senate, whether you're in the Cabinet, whether you're a member of Parliament. I am talking about prospective leader and leader of our country. And there should be no, under no condition, there should be any dual allegiance. So I say to you tonight, since the Prime Minister is here, I'm going to tone it down and keep it short, that if Mark Gordon believe that he can continue to hide from us, and 6 weeks later, still the matter is out there, the jury is out, I can tell you and assure you and assure him that it now goes up. We have to hear and get a final position wherever and however it leads us to. So I say tonight, Prime Minister, I see where, based on his own admission in the integrity report, that he does not own a house or a piece of real estate in Jamaica. I am not going to go there in terms of what I think, because I am being responsible, unlike them. But what I can say, Prime Minister, you love build house, and you love give a house. So I would ask you to think about giving him a social house. Despite the fact that by virtue of his own integrity report, him can buy 100 of them houses. But you can't be my leader. You can't be my Prime Minister and go on a full cover, much less a house. I have a problem with that. So hear what I said. Hear what I said. There is a lot of misinformation. It's an orchestrated plan for them to mislead Jamaica on a number of issues. It is a strategy. And the bottom line is we must not be caught. And we as a party must counter it. But I'm going to leave you with one thing. And I owe it to you and to my colleagues. There is no one, save and except for Edward Philip George Seaga, that has been targeted and vilified as a politician by the PNP. I have gone through it for 40 years, 1986, a little short of 40 years. But my back is broad. Not everybody's back is as broad as mine. And I am concerned, I said it in my sectoral debate, closing, of the type of personal attacks that are being exchanged in the politics of today. It reminds me of the 70s, and we don't want to go back there. So I'm calling on my colleagues on all sides, anybody who is a politician. When they go low, you go high. Campaign on your performance. Campaign on your strategies and your plans. Don't campaign on negativity against your opponent or against persons that are not on the same side as you. It does nothing for politics and it does nothing for Jamaica. As a matter of fact, it brings Jamaica into disrepute. And I'm seeing a pattern and I don't like it. So as the person who can stand here and talk openly about that, up to last week, I had to get an apology from a youngster for defamation in terms of something he posted. And you know what I did? I thought about the fact that I'm a father and what would happen to my son if I pursued him legally. And I took the decision to forgive him. But don't forget that I still have the General Secretary of the People's National Party in court, and they not ease him, none at all. We're going all the way to the Privy Council in that one, because we need to set an example. So I say, in closing, two things. Marky G, are the wrong man you buck up in now. Are the wrong man you buck up in now. From me, no back, from no one. And it is something that I fundamentally believe in. And I will take it to wherever it leads me. And second of all, I am proud to stand here as a member of the Androponis administration. The best prime minister that this country has ever seen. The most targeted prime minister. Why? Because they know what he does and what he means and his genuine loyalty to the people of this country. They can try anything they want to try. One thing I can tell you, as long as God give me breath, they have to go through me to get to him. God bless you. Show a labor.
MP Wallace, in future, invite us here from 12. You can't tell us to come here at 2. Because I got a call from my chairman, Warmington, and he wonder how he never get an invitation to be here. It can't work. And you don't want me without a lot to say. Surely, right? Now, there are so many persons who would want to bring greetings. And they have decided that the floor is for their PM. So the MP for Northern Clarendon, he's here. Just stand up and show a finger, bring the greeting.
Shout, 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 shout.
I know Chairman Ennis, he is so proud. Stand up, Chairman Ennis.
Shout, 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 shout.
DGS, the great Donovan Fedder.
Shout, 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 shout.
And the lovely Carrie Douglas, of course, you want to bring
Shout,
greetings.
shout, shout,
Stand up and
shout,
wave. No, labor rights, let me tell you something. Jermaine Hyatt, please stand and be acknowledged. Just come on your quiet self. But it's so we find some labor rights, you know. And just easy when the meeting are going. Show labor rights. Wonderful meeting now. You have some people who will look at this little lady and then think they can run up in her. But she's smart. She's bright. She's awesome. She's sharp. She's amazing. And she is a wonderful minister of information. No labor rights. I called her the other day and I say, you know, sister, they're not going like they want to pressure you. And you know what she said to me? She said, parents, you tell me which one. You say them stress me out. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our own Senator, Dana Morris Dixon, Dr. Dixon.
Let us talk about better Jamaica.
All labor rights. All right. I know PM is here. PM, I have to acknowledge you. We have the best Prime Minister, and I'll say a few words about our Prime Minister and leader of this party. The Speaker and Member of Parliament here. I have to acknowledge you, and I will say more about you later on too. And there are a lot of people who are here on the platform that I have to acknowledge, and I won't get to everyone, but I'm going to try my best. We have the entire area council, senior leadership, a lot of them are here, including the chairman of area council 1. We also have the deputy GenSec, who I have to acknowledge, all my cabinet colleagues who are here, the Senate colleagues who are here also, the other MPs, all the councillors who are here. The Young Jamaica team is out there, and they're all around, and G2K is here, which is very important. But the most important reason I'm here is really for you guys, the workers. You do all the work. And a lot of times you don't get acknowledged for the work that you do. Many of you have been here from early this morning, and you're still here, and you do that day in, day out for the party with or without thanks. And so I want to salute you and say a special greeting to all the JLP workers across Jamaica, and especially in this constituency. I have no doubt that we're going to win the next election with workers like you. Workers like you are not fair weather workers. You work when things are up, you work when things are down. You are just committed to this party. And so I salute you all and I thank you for being here today for me to tell you a few things that I need you to do for me. So you heard, I have to take care of the information area. The PM recently appointed it to me. And we're up against a lot. We're up against a lot of disinformation, misinformation, a lot of even lies out there. And you see it all over social media. You see it on the radio too. You see it when you're reading your papers too. You see a lot of this information out there that we all know is not true. And we know that from time to time, people will come and tell you all these things they hear on TikTok and they see on Instagram and they heard about it on the radio. And we have to be empowered with the knowledge and with the information so that we can go out there and tell them nothing, no go so. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. There's a lot of good news in Jamaica, a whole heap of good news. And a lot of that good news is because of the leadership of Andrew Holness, without doubt. And so I want you to tell your family, I want you to tell your neighbors, I want you to tell everybody about the good news. I was at church this morning and something came to me. You know that song? Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain. That Andrew Holness is going to change up a lot of policies and make us rich. We're going on to. But there's a lot of good news. And I want you to go out there and evangelize about the good news. There's a whole heap of good news. Every week I do 5. If you come on my Instagram or my TikTok or on Twitter, you'll see 5 things every week. And every week I have to think about, okay, which 5 am I going to do this week? Because we're doing so much. Our party is doing so much. And let me give you some of them. And I keep hearing this when I go around. You know, nothing now one. You hear it over and over, and I'm wondering if it's the same country that we live in. Because when I go around, I see things are gone. Last week, I had to go to Cayman for meetings. And I went into the supermarket. I went to Foster's, looking around. I saw a lot of Jamaicans who work in there. And they all sent their greetings, Prime Minister. But what I found in my meetings there were a lot of Jamaicans telling me that they want to come back to Jamaica. They're looking at Jamaica for business opportunities. They want to do small businesses. I heard a lot of them talk to me about St. Thomas and how they can't believe St. Thomas look like how St. Thomas look. Because they remember when they left Jamaica, St. Thomas was not like how it is today when you drive there on the pretty new road that the Prime Minister opened. It's a different place. And I heard people saying that there are more opportunities here in Jamaica. I never heard that. I used to go there a lot when I was young. I was one of those who had a mother who had to leave Jamaica to go and make a life for me, to send me to school. And she went there. She was living in Cayman. And for me to go there and hear Jamaicans say, you know, things going on back home. And they're proud of what is going on back home. And we have to spread that message. So let me give you some of the good news, which you hear already, but I'm going to say it again. Minimum wage up. When people tell you say nothing not happening for poor people, that's not true. Minimum wage is up. When they tell you that the hospitals, nothing is happening in healthcare, you need to tell them that nothing don't go so. We have put in, and let me talk about equipment especially. We bought new X-ray machines to go across the network. Every single month, over 12,000 Jamaicans have to get X-rays done. Every month. And many times you used to hear that the machine popped down and you can't get your scan done. You know it. You go there week after week expecting to get your scan done and you can't get it done. And this administration has put money in, $500 million to get this new equipment in. World-class equipment, not no DVD equipment. World-class equipment that we have bought. And so every week, every month, 12,000 Jamaicans are going to be benefiting from these new X-ray machines and don't have to go time and time and time again to the hospital and hear that it broke down. And that's in addition to the new hospitals, which you heard about earlier, that were never built. When you have the new Spanish Town Hospital coming, you have the Children's Hospital, the Western Children's Hospital. The Prime Minister has announced also, and Dr. Tufton, about looking at KPH and having a new KPH. Those are big things. When they tell you that there's nothing happening for our old people, tell them that nothing don't go so. There's social pension, which is something that was created by our Prime Minister. 15,000 elderly Jamaicans who have worked and built this country. And we know, we see them sometimes, don't have anything. They have nothing to show for all their life that they have toiled for this place. And our Prime Minister has put in place a social pension program that benefits 15,000 Jamaicans, elderly Jamaicans, or vulnerable Jamaicans. And so every 2 weeks they get some money. That is not people who are not focused on the old people in our country. The elderly are a focus. What about those who are not wealthy? Again, PATH, up to $10 billion now. And there are over 300,000 Jamaicans who benefit from PATH. 300,000 Jamaicans, that's enough people. And so when they say that there's nothing being done for those who are poor, you need to tell them nothing, not go so. Because we are now up to over $10 billion. And this is again where you have to know your facts. In the newspaper after the announcement about PATH, what did we see? We saw headlines that it's not enough and that it's just a minute increase. But when you look at the increase, it was actually 28.8% increase. That is not minute. That is significant. And that's why you have to get the facts for yourself and go out there and evangelize and tell it all over the mountain, because they're not going to tell it for us. It's not in their interest to tell it for us, so we have to tell our own story. You hear about Spark program, because people say the road's bad, not happening. Spark is there. Every single constituency in Jamaica, 63 constituencies, doing their consultations. And that's where you get to say, yes, I want that road, not that one. And that is democratic. And that's what our Prime Minister has said. Let the people have a voice in which roads are fixed. That has never been done. This is something that's revolutionary. And so we must be proud and we must go out there and evangelize about that too. You heard Matthew with all the water programs, so I don't need to go into water. But you need to be talking about all the things that are being done in terms of water. And then what about those who are disabled? Those who have special needs, those who sometimes are on the fringes of our society. We haven't forgotten about them either. When we look on our money, we feel it and we see the bumps on the money. That's Braille. That's so that a blind person don't get robbed. When they give some money and they're supposed to get change, they can actually feel it and tell that that is the right change they got up. That is us believing that everybody matters in Jamaica. We have Braille birth certificates now. So if you're blind, you get your birth certificate in Braille so you can read it. We also have, and that's not it. That's not it. We also have an I Am Able program that the Honorable Colonel Charles Jr. announced, where we're going to take people who are disabled overseas to get work experience. So it's not just the farm workers, the regular farm work program. People in wheelchairs, people who may be blind, they too are going to get these opportunities. And on Labour Day, we had the whole Labour Day dedicated to making ramps across Jamaica and making places accessible for those who are disabled and those who are elderly. We're a country and a government that is not leaving anybody behind. You can be able or disabled. We're going to treat you the same way, and we are going to be looking out for your interest. In terms of young people, a lot of them say nothing not happening either. But I say, tell them nothing not go so. Tuition support for those in university, announced $200 million of support. And Minister Williams is here, and she is going to be overseeing a lot of that. No student loan guarantor. I don't know how many of you know how terrible that was. I remember when I had to get a guarantor for student loan, and it was not the easiest process for you to be asking someone to guarantee a loan for you. That's very hard. And so we've eliminated that because we feel that just because you don't know nobody, or don't want anybody with money, that you should be denied an education at university. We deeply believe that. The rural school transport system that Minister Baz is working on, that again is for young people. All of the initiatives at heart. Edward Philip George Siaga was right. Heart was necessary. It was necessary in 1980, necessary today. And that's why the Prime Minister, who has direct oversight for Heart, has put so much effort into making not just Heart free, but also seeing how we can help people who may not have the bus fare or taxi fare, or who may not be able to eat every week, to be able to still go to Heart. And that is our commitment to our young people in Jamaica. And so I ask you to go sing the news. And I didn't even give you all of them. I have wholly more, because we're doing a lot of work, and I want you to be our evangelists out there. I want you to go out there and sing about everything that your party is doing. You see all the work you're doing in your community, walking up and down? What we are doing, what we have to do, is to put these things in place so that you can go out there and you can sing the praises of your government. Is you put us here, you know? Is you put us here. We don't put ourselves here. It's your hard work got us here. And so I want you to go out there and spread the news. I'm here, and I have to talk about the speaker, Madame Holness. She's a wonderful woman. And I can tell you, as a young woman coming into this arena of politics, you need support. And she has been so supportive of me in so many ways. Sometimes she calls people and tells them to leave her alone. She has stood up for me many times. And she has done it without me asking her to do it. So I stand here very confident in my place and in my work, because the speaker was willing to accept me. The speaker has shown me time and time again what a strong Black woman looks like. And we need more examples of that strong Black woman for our young girls, so that they can understand what we can aspire to and what we can achieve. And she has achieved a lot. She is speaker in her own right, not because of who sits beside her tonight. She's speaker in her own right. Even without him, she would still be a great choice for speaker. Without him.
Say thank you for everything you do.
We have to thank her, and she's an amazing first lady. And I can't say it enough. When I think about women that my children can look up to, she's one of them. She's one that all our children can live up to. And so I say to you, we have to defend her. When they go after her, we have to defend her. She is ours, and she represents us really well. And so I don't want to hear anybody say anything about our speaker. We don't respond. We have to respond. We have to support her, and I'll support her the way she has supported me. Even if she never go there boldly and say it, she did it time and time again. And I thank her for that support.
Keep smiling, keep shining, knowing you can always count on me. For sure, that's what friends are for.
And I have to say something about our Prime Minister. I didn't know he was going to be here while I was going to speak. I thought he would come after me, long after I was finished speaking, but he's here. And for me, it's an honor to work with him. I am minister without portfolio in his ministry in the office of the Prime Minister, and I'm honored to have that title, because I get to support him. I get to support his policies for Jamaica. I came into this world, in this political world, because of him, because of his policies, because of who he is. He is a good prime minister. Now, I have worked with a lot of good business leaders. And I say it all the time. I say it to my friends. I say it to my husband all the time. I said, you know, he could have run any company globally. He is brilliant. He's a strategist extraordinaire. When you see him take charge of a cabinet meeting and how he grasp the issues so easily, everything, he grasp it. That is brilliance that we have. That is Jamaican brilliance. He comes from where most of us come from. He never come from wealth. He went and he toiled and he toiled and he studied. And he is where he is because of hard work. And there are many who will badmine him, you know. There are many who badmine him. But he's one of us. He is one of us. He's gone through the struggle like us. Just yesterday, I saw someone who I hadn't seen in a while, and I said, you know how you're doing? And he's like, I'm here suffering. And I said, what do you mean by you're suffering? And we had a conversation about it. And I recalled the Bounty Killer song, Sufferer, right? You know, it's not when you're born as a sufferer. And under Andrew Holness, even if you're born as a sufferer, you're not going to die as a sufferer. And that is what we are about. Every policy that you hear is about uplifting people, taking people to their rightful place. The way Andrew Holness has been able to pull himself up, and Juliet Holness has been able to pull herself up. That's what we want for our people. What I know I want for all of your children and grandchildren is that even if times are hard for them and they grow up in poverty, that it don't have to be that way. And that's what this prosperity train is about. It is about how we move our country forward and how we take our people forward one by one. And I tell you, under Andrew Michael Holness, nobody will be left behind. All of Jamaica. And I tell you, our country is in good hands under Andrew Michael Holness. And I know I will live to see what my grandmother never lived to see, which is prosperity for all Jamaicans. Show labor. Labor rights. You heard it. Spark. Social pension. What is there for persons with disabilities? Let me tell you something. You see our party leader face? Look at it. You say, I'm happy. This is what he loves to hear. This is what he expects at a meeting of the Jamaica Labour Party when we talk about what our party is doing. Thank you very much, Senator Dana Dixon. Now let me get ready to invite the woman of the moment, the boss for East Rural, the boss for East Rural. Everyone in the room, we are most proud. Dr. Dixon, I take it from another angle when you say we should support her. The woman is a champion all by herself. She don't need electoral right. She don't need no backup on a company. She's fully. I want to tell the Prime Minister, PM, party leader, you see this song that is about to be played now, sir. It is about East Rural because you are the boss for every boss in the party. And I also want you to know, so it's just about East Rural. So give us Sanchez. Let's welcome the Member of Parliament. East
I will not belong because East Rural Labor Rights there from 8 o'clock this morning. All right? Labor Rights, we have been able to put on some $5 million event with little tip of money. Why? We have a good management team. We thank Rose, Cooper, Mr. Sterling, Ron Grant, and Miss Wong Lee, who have been working behind the scene. Notice my voice gone, I did all the training this morning. I don't think you have a family that works like our family. Prime Minister is here, but his son was flying the drone this morning and the other one was making sandwiches. His mom is here, my dad is here. We are committed to Jamaica. I have to big up and thank the team here at the office. You're never ever seen them. The interns, you know, see them. I have to start with them. They make 500,000 into 5 million. They set up, they decorate, they cook, they clean. So this event, we didn't pay for. We have to do the work. And believe you me, when I thought about our area council for so many years, because it's expensive to transport from Mavis Bank, from Garden Town, in the hills of Dallas, and Kintyre, all the way down, and people from Harborview. We wanted something not this big. But we started to hear from Area Council 1 that separate them apart from East Rural, Leobarites across Area Council 1, ready. They're more than on the mark. Them not only get set, they're ready. That anytime an election is called, they are taking home Jamaica with the Jamaica Labour Party. So Labourites, I want to thank everyone on the platform for their support. You'll never have to be here. Some have traveled from very far. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the wonderful speeches. And guess what I realized? I get a whole heap of confirmation. All the commitment that they make up here have to deliver. Don't. So we have had a constituency that normally get damaged all the time. We suffer. However, under Jamaica Labour Party, us from Harborview all the way to 10 miles by us. Major, you have had repairs going along the Kintyre leg, and you can see the road start cut, and you know the spark is sparking. It means under the spark program, you're gonna see Kintyre not only having wider roads, but better roads in East Rural. Last but not least, Mavis Bank. I don't want, when I'm going to Mavis Bank Square, I have to dodge in a vehicle. Mavis Bank, we are going to ask government and the Prime Minister to widen the road so we can get JMTC bus if we can Mavis Bank. We want when garbage truck or everywhere else, garbage truck can come Mavis Bank. So we are asking for a wider thoroughfare to take us to our Mavis Bank City. East Rural, work, dedication, and commitment is why we are here today. That's why we look so much better. However, we have more to come. Our SPARK program will see us getting over 300 million. We have Matthew is on board because he understands. We supply almost water to Kingston. East Rural St. Andrew, we feel proud because we make town get water. And therefore, Prime Minister, East Rural St. Andrew want be the one to show us. We want water washing our head from the shower head, from the kitchen tap. We don't want to catch no water. We don't want bucket no water unless we feel like it. We want water in our pipe in every single house. So we are looking for that. Those are our big needs. take care of our young people, and I'm so happy to have Dana. See, we have NCT back there, and we have asked to convert Mavis Bank into a skills training center in the afternoon as well. So, labor rights, I won't talk long because I know we're here long. We have one commitment. There is no one that cares for Jamaica more than the Jamaica Labour Party. Under Prime Minister Andrew Holness, we continue to have a country run by a Jamaica Labour Party that understands that prosperity is for JP, PMP. If you're not vote, or not vote, if you're too young to vote. We are not the party that believe that the country is for me. We are the party that believe that the country is for all of us as Jamaicans. And so, the only way we will win the next election is if we take home East Rural St. Andrew. We take home West Rural St. Andrew. We take home Eastern. You notice me now call other seat, Dalavan Osha the far. We are all sister constituencies and they are connected. If you win these 3 seats, Jamaica will have prosperity for a long time to come. So in going down, I say one thing to you. Don't follow rumors. You're not going away. You're not going nowhere. So, workers, especially of East Rules, don't waste time calling me and ask me for troops and me I go. This is a seat and that, a seat and that, a seat. Don't waste time with a lot of the rumors. Why the PNP keep you bogged down in rumors is that all you do is talk and talk and talk about the rumors. Which means, so you're not numerate, you're not canvas, you're not talk to your vote of them of all the good things this prosperity government has done, because you get confused at all about them things. Don't listen to them no more. It is a strategy to have you busy focusing on what don't make sense. Our strategy going forward is one that your own leader show you. Focus on yourself, focus on your work, focus on your neighbor, so that whenever Andrew, Michael, Holness ring the bell, when he ring the bell, East Rural St. Andrew will be ready to take us home to victory. We will not have a big meeting like this. We will be like termites in a small corner, strategizing and working. Because guess what? Mr. Andrew Holness, you can put East Rural in your back pocket. Thank you again for being all here, and especially for those who are from Jamaica this morning, all from Bureau Council and those who have come in. Thank you for being here. I am going to come home so you can listen to the man, the real boss, my boss. Show us the blessing, Lord. Show us the blessing. Love and Israel.
Labor what a wonderful meeting. All labor rights everywhere. Men see the finger of all the labor rights here. Every labor right, even on the platform, stand to raise the victory in the Jamaica Labour Party. Where's G2K? I want young people come around in G2K, young Jamaica. Are you here for all labor rights? Everyone, to your chief. Turn around and talk to your labor rights.
Showers of blessings, Lord. Firstly, let me say how pleased I am with the turnout of this meeting. You look good. It looked like a little party set up with stage. And I saw that you had some good performers that entertained you, but informed you. I know that you have been here from 8. I can tell you that Juliet has been up from 5 a.m. this morning, going about, moving around, and my son's left with her to come to help with the organization of the meeting. She told me that she found it necessary to bring in all our workers from up in the hills, from down on the plain, to bring them into a classroom setting, to go back over the fundamentals of politics, enumeration, canvassing, developing your 1 in 20, knowing your voters, working in the constituency. So what we are seeing here is not just labor rights gathered to socialize and listen to the bigger head speak as they are turning. It is the Labour Party meeting in units to organize itself. So this is the message that I am sending across Jamaica to all the Labourites who will watch this. They may not be here, but they are following us on social media. They will watch the report on the news, and they will hear from other Labourites in their various chat rooms that the Labour Party is going to its roots. The Labour Party is ensuring that it gets its fundamentals correct, because no matter how good your policies are, you won't be able to execute them unless those good policies have good politics to back it up. Every Labourite around the country believes that the Labour Party is good for the country. I tell you better, every PNP believes that too. In fact, when you talk to PNP people, they have a conflict. Because remember now, they support their political party like how they support a football team. Even if the football team not doing well, they're going to still support the football team. I'm a Liverpool fan, no matter what. Who is Man U? Anyway, it's just so it goes. We are going to support Jamaica, no matter what, because we don't have any conflict. We choose Jamaica. And every Jamaican knows that the Jamaica Labour Party is best for Jamaica. Listen to me now. When you talk to business people, they tell you it's the best the economy has ever been in Jamaica. It's a reality. When you talk to public sector workers, They will say, boy, we didn't want more. Or boy, that one they get more and me get this. But they all have to agree, except those who don't get it yet, but working. But they all have to agree that it is the Jamaica Labour Party that has given the biggest and most sustainable increase in public sector wages in the history of Jamaica. And when it comes to ensuring that the working class, the people who don't get public sector wage, the people who work as mechanic, gardeners, housekeepers, we are the ones that make sure that we increase the minimum wage to keep abreast with the cost of living. So they know fundamentally that the Jamaica Labour Party has done the best. The argument now is not to compare us with the PNP, because that is not an argument. He's saying they're going to go vote for PNP because they believe the PNP is going to do better than the JLP. That's not the argument. You don't hear that. No. What has happened is that our politics have moved on in terms of the performance of the government. They can't compare with us. So what is happening now is you start to compare the Jamaica Labour Party with the aspirations, meaning the things you would like to see happen. That is not happening as fast as you would like. But that tells you a lot. Because in years gone by, many of you who would follow the politics, we would come up and we would talk about JLP versus PNP. Nobody saying that under PNP things
get out of the shadow ban. Continue guys, get out of the shadow ban. Bro,
everybody realize that progress is being made by the government.
Big up yourself,
the issue now
bro, big up yourself.
Is how do we get that progress to speed up, to be sustainable, and to be spread widely and evenly in the society. That is the issue. And that is what this government is working on. But we recognize that what is happening in the society
give me and get me out of shadow ban.
Is you are being fed with a whole heap of falsehood, lies, misinformation. Minister Vaz told you about a youngster. Quite a sad case where this youngster was put up to doing this kind of fake news business, hired to do it, to tell lies and spread falsehoods, and him get in trouble. But it's not just that innocent youngster alone. You have people who should know better, politically connected people, paying people to spread lies and rumors, to engage in character assassination. The challenge that we have is that all of you here have a phone. And if I were to say to you, how many are you there on TikTok? How many are you there on Instagram? How many are you getting WhatsApp? And you read it, and you know our culture, anything you read, you believe. We don't take time to verify, to check other things, to use our own sense and set this up. And so what it does, it affects mood. It makes people start to think negatively. And so you end up with this conflict in your mind. You know the government is doing well. When they ask the question, how does the government compare to the PNP? Everybody says, of course. Manage the economy far better. Deal with crime far better. Healthcare far better. Education far better. Not to talk about infrastructure. Far better. But this artificially created negative mood in the country creates the conflict. That is the issue. So the JLP must now go back to its base. The Jamaica Labour Party is not the same Jamaica Labour Party of the 80s. We are not going to sit by and allow the PNP to use false information to damage and attack the reputation of hard-working, decent Jamaicans who have given their lives, their energy to this country. I want them to understand this very well, that when I came into politics, I did not come into politics to have a resume. Politics is not a resume item for me. It is not an afterthought. I was born for politics, and I have pursued politics all my life. This is not about aggrandizement or having a title. I don't feel any sense of entitlement to anything. I am only here to serve, and I believe in the mission on which we are all together. But there are those who would want to distract us from the mission. And sometimes they are successful, because sometimes even our own people end up joining the false narrative. Even our own people end up believing some of the foolishness. But you never hear me engage in an argument with nobody. No matter how them write bad article, bad editorial, fake and false news, me not answer them. It takes two to have an argument, and me no in no argument with nobody. Listen to me, good. You ever hear me bad mind a man for not yet? You ever hear me wish ill on a man ever yet? You ever hear me go down in the gutter and draft anything for anybody yet? One thing me have to say, you know, and me just always live my life. If you're going to dig a pit,
they're gonna have money gun and get me to shadow man.
So me not dig pit for nobody.
Councillor Pastor, big up
I
yourself.
wish the best for
They're gonna have
everybody.
money gun,
Even
man, and get me
those
to
who
shadow
make
man.
it
They're
their
gonna do money
duty to
gun.
every day get up and harp up my name.
Get me out of shadow ban, please.
But you know what? My mother is here. And when we were growing up, I was growing up in Spanish Town, in a housing scheme called Riverside Park. We had some neighbors, and they were always just getting into trouble, and the kind of neighbors that give you problems, you know. On reflection, I think I understand what the challenges were with them. But it was very frustrating to my mother. And I remember saying to her, Mom, look, you cannot let these things bother you. All the negative and nasty things that they would say, you cannot let them bother you. Focus on what we are doing. Single parent household, myself, my mother and my sister. And at that time I was doing, I believe it would have been CXCs. So that was my focus. And I said to her, we're going to do well on the CXCs. We're going to do well in our education, going to get a good job, and you're going to watch us pass them people there who badmine us, say bad things about us, who set all kind of snares for us. You're going to see your children prosper over them because God don't support evil people. And so said, that has been my journey. So my lesson and my mission to you and my message to you is that we are going to remain focused on what we have to do. We will not be in any way distracted. Now, I want to talk a little bit about East Rural. This is a big constituency, huge, and your member of parliament has done an amazing job in bringing the constituency together. The challenges that you have with roads and water, I believe I know it better than her. Because almost on a daily basis, undertakings about what he will do for water in this constituency. I have announced in my budget presentation an amount of $1 billion Jamaican dollars to be used for small water projects. Now I know that in some areas, particularly up in the hills, you have no water, but you have catchment and you have streams. And so this is what this $1 billion is to be used for small water projects, to do the entombments, to develop the catchments, and do the piping. So, Madam MP, Madam Speaker, your constituency will get serious attention as it relates to your water situation, particularly the water situation up in the hills. I want to say a little bit about the roads. Jamaica has about 25,000 kilometers of roads. If you were to take all the roads and put them end to end, it would carry you halfway around the world. That's the amount of road we have. Jamaica was, a couple of years ago, the second most road dense per square kilometer in the world, meaning we have the second most number of roads per square kilometer in the world. So that means we have a whole heap of roads. Many of our roads, in fact more than 50% of our roads, are in a state of disrepair. How do we correct this situation overnight? I ask you, as reasonable people, how is that going to be corrected overnight? By the way, Those roads didn't go bad since 2016. But it is since 2016 that the pace of repairing roads has started to increase. I remember a couple of years ago, the Garden Town Road collapsed. How many of you remember that? Collapsed. You know why the road collapsed? Many reasons, but one of them is that there was a little retaining wall which was undermined by the river that ran beside it. But it would have happened anyway because the Garden Town Road is over 100 and odd years old. It was a little track cut into the side of a mountain that we converted into a road, and then we tried to support it by putting in a retaining wall. It was never really a road according to today's standard. So any weather event would cause that road to collapse. And the truth is, most of the roads in that area could eventually suffer the same fate. What did we do? We didn't just try to do a patchwork repair. The repair that we did there will ensure that that road will last another 100 years. When you look at the retaining wall that was put up, massive, thick retaining wall, more than 15 feet at the base, about 30 to 40 feet high, if not more, and we did a proper resurfacing of the road. I point that out to you to say that when we are going to do the SPARK program, we're not just going to do a little roll mall and then put on blacktop on the road. No. There are some people who want us to take the money and just patch. Some people want us to do that. Patch it here and patch it there, and then the next shower of rain, the road gone. No. No. What we're going to do is to fix the roads properly so that you can be guaranteed that you will get at least 7 years straight out of the road. Now, I want you to listen to me good now. The SPARK program has two components to it. One is the local road. The second component is the main roads. Now, for the main roads, the end of the, along with myself and Minister Morgan, and in consultation with the MPs, will select the roads. Nobody's gonna break my stride. Nobody's gonna slow me down. Oh, I got to keep on moving. Listen. You remember what I said about distraction? And the deliberate nature of the distraction? You're going to find the distraction game being deeply played. And everything they're going to try to distract you. But remember what I said, we remain. So, the SPARK program has two components. One of the components is the local road, meaning your community road, what we call the municipal corridor. The second component is for the major main roads. At the end of the day, with myself and Minister Morgan, we will be looking at those roads. Those major main roads, we are going to repair them, but they are going to be done in such a way that they create a connectivity. So when we are finished with that component of the SPARK program, you will be able to drive around Jamaica on main roads, your major main roads, on good road right across Jamaica. So we're going to look at roads that are connecting townships, that cross parishes, that take you across the country. Those are the roads that we're going to focus on in component number 2, the major main roads component. In the component that you are interested in, which is your local roads, I want the people with your member of parliament to decide on the roads that really matter to you. The ones that get you to work, the ones that get you into the far-reaching communities, the ones where a lot of people live. Those are the roads that I want to focus on. Focus on roads that give you connectivity within the community as well, so that you will have a long stretch of road when you connect them together that you can go about your business. Now, when those roads are done, we intend to start working on those roads by the latest October, November. When those roads start to be done, what will the PNP say? What can they say? The first thing they're going to say, it's not enough. It's only 8 roads. How many roads did you do when you had the country for 18 and a half years? Then I hear another argument that somehow the contractor is going to take 30% cut out of the money. Let me be clear. This project is going to be run efficiently, and every single road that is done will have value for money. We have put in place the systems to ensure that there is no corruption in the construction of these roads. If you notice, we didn't leave the roads up to be selected only by the MPs. We have mobilized the communities to help with the selection of the road, not just for selection, but when the people are involved and they know that their voice matters, they will also be the eyes and ears to ensure that there is no corruption taking place on those roads when the roads are constructed. So the people's voice will be there. But more than that, when we have completed the SPARK program, which will be done over 2 years, the plan is that we intend to continue to make this level of allocation for our roads. So over a period of time, you are going to see in your community an amazing increase in the quality of the roads that you have. So I know that you are going to ensure that it is the Jamaica Labour Party that remains the government, so that programs like the SPARK program, those good policies, can be continued. Labor rights. I want to now very quickly tell you of some of the work that the party is doing. After the February elections, local government elections, we have commissioned a review of the Jamaica Labour Party, its structure, its organization, its workers. So the party is now going through that process of preparing itself for the next phase of the mission of building Jamaica. You're going to see a different approach by the Jamaica Labour Party to its communications and a different approach to dealing with its workers and a different approach to campaigning. We have been the government for going more than 8 years now. And in any institution, you must take the time after 8 years to review it, to look at what you are doing well, what you are not doing so well, what has changed in the environment, and what are the opportunities that exist, and what are the strategic approaches that you must take. So any good organization does that, and your party is doing that. Some of you might have been interviewed in that process already, where you have been giving your information and your opinion as to what the party should do. The party is going to take that, and it is going to develop its corporate strategy. It's going to develop its connection strategy. It's going to develop its communication strategy, and it's going to develop its campaign strategy. So when you are called upon to give your opinion in this review process, please make yourself available. The party is also looking at the performance of all its representatives, every single representative. We can't take it for granted that because somebody looks good on paper, that they are good on the ground. We can't take it for granted that because somebody have a brand name, you take it and say, well, that the man, they must good. No, we're going to be very scientific, very strategic in our approach. The other thing that we're doing, and as workers you should understand this, is that we know that the policies of the government, though they have been very well, things are going well, the economy is going well, there is a frustration, particularly among those persons who are at minimum wage or maybe just above minimum wage. So you would describe them to be lower, middle to lower income. Very hard on those people. And I have been doing my checks and I hear the challenges. Food price, cost of living. It just a move every minute, it's a move. And then I hear also the growing demand for housing. Now, there is a correlation that as employment increases and as wages increase, people are going to now want more cars and more houses. I'm going to give you a little fact. The number of cars in Jamaica has moved from somewhere about 200,000 to over 350,000 now. Cars have increased significantly. And so too will be the demand for housing. And we are responding to the demand for housing. Many schemes are being built, but it takes you a year and a half
Clean TV,
to
they give
start
her
and
money gun.
complete a scheme. People get frustrated. I know
Take
one
me out
lady
the
said
shadow
she's been
ban,
trying
clean
to
TV
apply
with a
for
money gun.
NHT house for how long and she just can't lucky. When the NHT put out their advertisements for housing, if they put up 100, 200 houses, 20,000 people apply. Just don't have enough. But we are increasing the pace at which we deliver housing. Many schemes are being done now. So within another year and a half, you will see a significant number, over 3,000-4,000 houses will come onto the market to assist with this significant housing demand. In total, we have now put in place plans for over 30,000 houses to be built for Jamaica through the NHT. But what I wanted to say to you more than anything else is that we understand the pressures that the average Jamaican is going through right now because of the cost of living. It is something that we're very sensitive to, something that we understand, and it is something that we have been managing, and we have managed it better than any other government. Inflation was as high as 12% because of the pandemic. You have now seen inflation come back down into the target range of 4 to 6%. Inflation is now at 5%, 5.6% thereabout. I want you to understand this. It is going to take a little time. There's a little lag time for you to start to feel the reduction and stability in prices. So yes, I understand the frustration, but don't give up hope, because the economy is returning to its steady state. And what that means is that your price movements will slow and your purchasing power will keep its value. And that is because of how the government has managed to run the economy. So as we close the presentation, laborers, let me thank your Member of Parliament for hosting the area council. She has done an amazing job. And let me thank you all for coming and participating in the training session, which was very important. And bear in mind what I have said. We are not going to be distracted. We are going to use all kinds of deliberate strategies, including disrupting our meetings, including spreading false news and misinformation. But we are developing a strategy to deal with that. If you notice that on this platform, our Minister of Information has given you at least 10 items, areas of performance of the government. So you are empowered with information to combat and tackle misinformation and false news. But more than that, you should take the message that your party is reorganizing. Your party is not taking anything for granted.
Yes, Samara, big
your
money gun,
party
Samara.
is being very strategic. We are reviewing ourselves. We are putting in place our plans. And we're going to ensure that what we come to you with as the new definition of the mission of the Jamaica Labour Party is something relevant to you and something in which you can believe in and become ambassadors and representatives.
Yes, Tamara, yes, me talk to you.
So
Let's
Labour
send more money
Party
gun.
is managing its business. Labour Party is being strategic. And the Labour Party is putting itself in a position to form the next government of Jamaica.
Yasmin, we talk later last night. Thanks again.
God bless you. Love
you, Prime Minister Hollis. Always a meaningful contribution. Whenever you speak to us, within the party, whenever you speak to the nation, it is always transformational, and it is always about making us better people, heading to the future, brighter, better.
Yes,
and I
Samara.
like that all that you
Sam,
do for
yes,
this
Samara,
country,
may I
you're
text,
steering
may
us
I see
towards
the
a path closer self-sufficiency. Laborites, you have been here from about 8 this morning. MP Holness, I think you may be in a bit of trouble. There are several MPs who have been messaging me. They are saying you keep big meeting in East Rural. They hear that Kingston block. And how come you never tell them about it? So guess what? You will have to make it up to us. It was a wonderful afternoon. It was a pleasure being here. And Prime Minister, I'm so happy that you're committed to the party, committed to the country. Our Prime Minister and party leader. He don't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. He is firmly planted here. One passport, building Jamaica and standing up for the Jamaica Labour Party. And we know that your management team has been wonderful. And I think a member of your management team, Rohan Grant, I don't think he would forgive me at all. Excellent management team, excellent executive team, excellent workers, excellent councillors. A wonderful constituency going for the third term with the Jamaica Labour Party. I thank everyone who made it here. Thank you, Laborites, and just to know your party, we love you, we appreciate you, and you're going to be seeing us more in your fields, on the corner, everywhere. And you're so nice. Just wait, Laborites. This is the first of many meetings. Sanjay, everyone, please stand as we sing the anthem. The Jamaica Labour Party.
Equal rights and justice is our everlasting song. Unity and progress will make our nation strong. Stand up for your rights when you hear the bell. Stand up for justice, hear the freedom bell. Remember us the man serve you well. Stand up for Jamaicans when you